I was fired on a Tuesday, publicly, in front of over 100 employees, and a live stream still archived somewhere online. My boss called me a security risk, a traitor. I stood there, frozen, while chat bubbles poured in like confetti. Wow. Damn. Didn't expect that from Aiden. But here's the part no one saw. 3 hours earlier, I'd refused to sign off on a report that could cost the company millions, illegally. Now, 6 months later, I'm running my own firm. And guess who just applied, under a fake name, to be my employee? Do I open the door or close it forever? They didn't even let me sit down. Before we begin today's town hall, Thomas said, adjusting his expensive watch on camera, we have a serious matter to address. Aiden Carter has violated internal data security protocols. Effective immediately, he is terminated from this company. My video window was still open in the bottom corner of the screen. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The chat blew up. Whoa, what? Security breach? Didn't he lead the AI ethics team? 1,000 eyes watching from behind monitors across cities judged me in real time. No one unmuted. No one spoke up. Thomas didn't flinch. We take integrity seriously. This is not the person we are, or ever were. I had to click leave meeting myself. I walked out of that office for the last time, under fluorescent lights that had lit up my best years. On the elevator ride down, my work badge beeped red when I tried to swipe it one last time. Locked out. When I got home, the silence stung more than the firing. Rachel hugged me, briefly. Her arms were stiff, her voice lower than usual. What happened? Before I could answer, Ava ran to me with a handmade card. For you, Daddy. It's you with a cape. You're a superhero. I took the card, knelt down, kissed her forehead, and lied. Daddy just needs a little break. The truth? 3 hours before the firing, Thomas had handed me a report with doctored numbers, a pitch to investors showing fake growth projections and hidden customer retention hacks. I refused to sign it. You'll regret this, he'd said quietly. I didn't think he meant that literally. By midnight, a company-wide email had been sent, citing serious concerns about data ethics violations tied to my name. My inbox? Gone. My files? Wiped. 7 years of work erased with a few keystrokes. The next morning, I opened my laptop to apply for jobs. My name was already tainted. Recruiters responded with cold thanks. Old colleagues didn't reply at all. LinkedIn showed 4 people had viewed my profile. None left a message. Then came the microcut. One of my closest colleagues, Marcus, posted a vague status. Loyalty should never cost you your future. Grateful for new beginnings. Hundreds liked it. I messaged him. He left me on read. Later that afternoon, an email came in from what had been our biggest client, terminating all future collaborations. Given recent events, our board has chosen to reevaluate our partnership. Rachel stopped talking much. She would sit on the couch, scrolling news, shaking her head. She didn't say it, but she didn't have to. My father called that night. I raised you better than this, he said. You brought shame to our family, to yourself. I stared at the wall. I didn't do anything wrong, Dad. He hung up. That night, unable to sleep, I walked out to the mailbox barefoot. There was only one envelope, no return address. Inside, 5 printed photos, screenshots of a PowerPoint deck. The project name? Data Recalibration Initiative. Underneath, my signature. Forged. I checked the metadata. The author? Thomas Hale. And in the final slide, a list of team members who validated the plan. My name was at the top. That's when I knew. It had always been a setup. They didn't fire me for breaking rules. They fired me to protect themselves. A whistleblower. That's what I had become. Against my will. When I walked back in, Ava was on the living room floor, trying to finish a puzzle. She looked up. "Daddy, I'm stuck. The middle piece is missing." I sat beside her. "Well, then we just have to find it, don't we?" We searched quietly, her small fingers turning every piece upside down. That night, after she fell asleep, I opened my old hard drive. 7 years of ideas, prototypes, plans no one believed in. I created a new folder. Rebuild from ashes.zip. The first desk we used was a folding table from my garage. The coffee machine broke on day 2. And our office? A spare room in Jeremy's apartment with a leaky window and 3 mismatched chairs. But it was ours. Jeremy, college roommate, best friend, venture nerd, was the first to say it out loud. "You know what we should build? A real-time data integrity platform. No tricks, no loopholes, just truth." I nodded. "Truth sells these days." He laughed. "Nah, but lies cost more." We called it Verity. Not flashy, just honest. Jeremy took care of the back end. I focused on interface and architecture. We pitched angel investors with mock-ups, projections, and a backstory I kept vague. Not once did I mention Thomas Hale. We secured a small round from a retired VC who liked the idea of punishing manipulation with precision. Within 6 weeks, we had a working prototype. The day our first client signed, I bought pizza and sparkling water. Ava drew a new logo on her iPad, Verity, spelled in bubble letters. That night, I told her, "You're officially the head of branding." She laughed. "Can I get paid in ice cream?" Deal. On the 8th Monday of operations, Jeremy forwarded me a resume. Subject line, potential front-end dev. Looks solid. I opened it. Clean formatting. Perfect grammar. Work history included a 3-year stint at my old company. No mention of department, just engineering division. His name was Dylan Hart. Jeremy added, "Strong references. Might be a good fit. Want to interview him Thursday?" I replied, "Sure." But something felt off. Dylan showed up early for the Zoom call. Slick hair, calm smile. The kind of politeness that doesn't blink. I walked him through a few hypothetical tasks. He answered perfectly. Too perfectly. "What do you know about our company?" I asked. "Oh, just what's public. Excited by your data-first philosophy." He didn't flinch, but I caught it. The half-second pause before data first. The words weren't natural to him. I ended the interview and muted my mic. "Jeremy," I said on Slack, "run a background check. Full spectrum. Pay for the premium tier." The results came in the next day. Dylan Hart was not a front-end developer. He was a contracted research associate at my old company's internal auditing department. His job? Internal espionage. He'd never built a thing in his life. Jeremy messaged, "What do we do?" I stared at the screen for a long moment, then replied, "Nothing. Let him think he fooled us." Tension settled into my shoulders for days. At night, I triple-checked security logs. I added layers of encryption around our product kernel. I stopped using my phone near windows. One Friday, I came home late. Rachel was asleep. Ava had passed out on the carpet with markers still in her hand. On the floor beside her was a printout of the Verity logo, half-colored, stars around the edges. I knelt, pulled a blanket over her, and sat there for a while. Building something from ash wasn't just about revenge. It was about dignity. 3 months passed. Verity's growth outpaced our capacity. We signed 6 mid-sized tech clients, hired 3 full-time staff, and were approached by a European compliance firm for a partnership. One morning, Jeremy barged into my office. No knocking. "Dude, our LinkedIn traffic just exploded. Someone wrote about us on Tech Truth." I checked the article. A glowing feature. How 2 nobodies are making data honesty profitable again. Jeremy grinned. "We're nobodies." We celebrated with mediocre tacos. I bought Ava a telescope she'd been begging for. That night, while she aimed it at the stars, I felt, briefly, like myself again. Then came the ripple. Thomas Hale's LinkedIn went dark. Profile deleted. Posts gone. Contacts vanished. Jeremy texted, "You think it's related?" I didn't reply. A week later, I received an email with a black banner header. Invitation, Data Ethics Panel, Modern Views on Transparency. It was hosted by Integrity X, a nonprofit founded by ex-CTOs. I'd heard of it. The moderator? Lydia Renner, Thomas's ex-girlfriend. Also, a former PR strategist, sharp, brutal, fearless. She had once turned a billion-dollar lawsuit into a TED Talk on narrative reframing. The panel was virtual. I said yes. During rehearsal, Lydia appeared on screen, wearing crimson lipstick and a blazer sharper than any blade. She smiled when she saw me. "Aiden Carter," she said, "the man of quiet explosions. I prefer silent builds." She smirked. "Not anymore." The panel itself was uneventful, until the Q&A. A viewer asked, "How do you deal with execs who abuse internal audits?" Lydia turned to me. "Well, Aiden, any thoughts?" I hesitated. Then, "You fire them, publicly or privately, but you fire them." Lydia leaned in. "Rumor is your former boss didn't resign. He was forced out." I didn't flinch. "Some rumors are true." Her eyes gleamed. "Would you ever work with him again?" I smiled. "He's not the one applying." The chat blew up. After the call, Lydia emailed me privately. "They ousted Thomas 3 months ago. Silent vote. He doesn't know I know. Thought you should." I stared at the screen, and then I saw it. Another job application, just submitted to our site. From a Tom H. The cover letter ended with, "I admire your commitment to integrity." I closed the laptop slowly. So did the past. The resume said Tom H. The email address was a burner domain. No LinkedIn, no portfolio site. But the tone, polished, confident, and oddly familiar. I clicked View Metadata on the attached PDF. Embedded creator, T. Hale. There it was. Thomas Hale, former CEO of my past life, now reduced to applying under a fake name to my startup for a junior data role. I stared at the screen for a long time. What did he want? I scheduled a video interview. Jeremy raised an eyebrow when he saw the name. "You're seriously going to talk to him?" "I need to see it for myself." Thomas showed up on Zoom, wearing glasses he didn't need, and a background image of a fake co-working space. His voice was softened, pitch slightly lower. "Hi, I'm Tom. Been doing freelance work the last few months, looking for something stable." I kept my camera off, just audio. "What draws you to Verity?" "I admire your mission. Transparency matters." "You ever cross paths with our founder, Aiden Carter?" He paused. "Too long." "No. Can't say I have." He lied, boldly, casually. I muted myself, exhaled once, then ended the call with a "We'll be in touch." Later that night, I opened an old journal. The pages were worn thin. One line had been underlined in red ink, circled 3 times. "You don't fight to win. You fight to stay who you are." That journal was from 6 years ago during my first promotion. I remembered writing it after a particularly brutal meeting where Thomas had suggested we massage a client's quarterly report. I refused. He laughed it off. Apparently, he hadn't forgotten. The next day, I dug deeper. Verity's investment pool included a minor partner named Lucent Equity holding a 3% share. Quiet, passive. Except Lucent had one lead partner, Adrienne Costas. And Adrienne, she'd been Thomas's ally on the board. The same one who'd greenlit my firing. It made sense now. He wasn't applying for a job. He was coming in through the back door. I didn't tell Jeremy. I needed to control the next move myself. I sent a reply to Tom H. Thank you for your time. We'd like to invite you for an in-person interview. No camera filters, no aliases. The next Monday, I waited in the lobby. At exactly 10 a.m., the glass doors slid open. Thomas stepped in. He looked older, hollowed out. The smugness in his jawline was gone, replaced with something closer to fear. He spotted me and froze mid-step. "Aiden," he whispered. I walked over, extended a hand. "Mr. Hale, welcome to Verity." He shook it. His hand was damp. I led him to the conference room and gestured for him to sit. He hesitated, then lowered himself into the chair like it might collapse under him. "I appreciate the opportunity," he said. I nodded. "We value talent." He tried to match my tone. "I've followed your work. Impressive what you've built here." I asked him about his recent projects. He mumbled something about data visualization consulting. When I pressed for details, he changed the subject. There was a silence that stretched too long. Then I leaned back and asked, "Do you remember the day you fired me?" His eyes flinched. "You said I was a security risk." Thomas swallowed. You were right, in a way," I continued. "I was a risk, but not to data, to your reputation." He looked down. "Aiden, I'm not looking for apologies," I said flatly. "I just wanted to see if you remembered." We sat like that for a few seconds. Then I stood. "Thank you for your time." He rose, confused. "That's it? We'll let you know?" I walked him out myself. Before he left, he turned to me. "Why? Did you bring me in?" I paused. "Because I wanted to look you in the eye and see if you'd become smaller." Then I shut the door. 2 days later, Jeremy called. "You're not going to believe this. That Tom guy, he accepted our offer." "What?" "He signed the NDA. Said he's excited to regain trust in the data space. Weird phrasing, right?" I didn't reply. Instead, I walked to the IT room, pulled the laptop we assigned him, and installed a tracker. Nothing invasive, just log activity, flag external file transfers. Within 48 hours, the pings came in. Thomas was logging into encrypted tunnels, routing data packets through offshore servers, sending reports with internal metrics, daily dev notes, roadmap docs, to a domain owned by Lucent Equity, to Adrienne Costas. He wasn't done yet. And neither was I. I assigned Thomas a project we called EchoSync, a security protocol designed to detect data discrepancies in real time, highly sensitive, high risk, high visibility. The same type of system he once handed me with doctored numbers and a silent ultimatum. Only now, the margin for error was razor thin. "Give him EchoSync," I told Jeremy. "Let's see if he can swim in water he poisoned." Thomas didn't question the assignment. He nodded in the team meeting, even offered ideas, but his eyes never settled. He tapped his pen too often. His smile stayed 2 seconds longer than natural. The first week, he performed like a seasoned pro, submitted diagrams, contributed to code reviews. But there was a nervous energy, always humming beneath the surface, like he was waiting to be caught. By week 3, the cracks began to show. One night, at 2:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Aiden? His voice was small. Can I talk to you? I didn't speak. I don't think I can finish this project, he said. I thought I could handle it, but it's too much, too familiar. I stayed quiet. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean to. Back then, You mean ruin my career? A pause. I thought I was protecting the company. No, I said. You were protecting yourself. He hung up. The next night, it rained. Hard. Thunder rolled through the hills, sheets of water pounding the porch. Rachel and Ava were asleep when headlights flashed through the window. I opened the door. Thomas stood there, soaked, hair plastered to his forehead. He looked smaller, defeated. I had nowhere else to go, he said. I didn't speak. We sat under the porch awning, watching rainwater spill off the edge like a curtain. Minutes passed before either of us spoke again. I thought I knew what power was, he finally said. But it wasn't firing people. It was pretending I had nothing to be afraid of. I said nothing. I was the one who voted against your firing. He added quietly, Adrian and the board outnumbered me. But I stayed silent. That was my real sin. The thunder cracked again. I didn't move. After they removed me, he continued, I tried to rebuild. I even believed in this job, but I can't outrun who I was. He was crying. Real tears. For once, I didn't feel victory, just tired. We sat in silence, two silhouettes in the dark, no hating, no forgiving. Just two men who had both lost something they couldn't name. When the rain lightened, I stood. You should go? He nodded. Didn't ask for anything. Just left. The next morning, I opened a folder labeled Comet. Inside were the audio files I'd kept. Not all of them. Just enough. Recordings from those last days at the old company. Thomas urging silence. Adrienne giving orders. Board members laughing about taking out the ethics kid. I hadn't planned to release them until now, because I finally understood something. This wasn't about payback. It was about making sure the next Aiden Carter wouldn't have to rebuild from ashes. I sent the recordings to 3 outlets: Tech Truth, The Signal, and the Neutral Ledger. No commentary, just truth. Within hours, it spread. The story topped HackerFeed. The headlines read, Audio leak exposes boardroom corruption at Apex Systems. CEO fired, then silenced. The ethics engineer strikes back. Aiden Carter's return, quiet retaliation or corporate justice. Jeremy stormed into my office. You released the files? I nodded. He stared. You really went full Phoenix. Not for me, I said. For anyone who's still inside. That afternoon, a call came through from a blocked number. A woman's voice. I don't know if you remember me. I was a junior PM on your old team. I didn't answer. She continued. I was threatened too. They told me if I spoke up, I'd never work in tech again. Pause. Thank you. She hung up. The next call came from inside Apex Systems. One of the board members, Anthony Rhodes. We've been made aware of your public release. I didn't respond. He coughed. Let me just say, not everyone agreed with what happened. I was in the minority. No, Mr. Rhodes, I replied. You were silent. He exhaled. Fair enough. What do you want, Aiden? Nothing, I said, but I hope you like lawyers. By nightfall, Apex's shares plummeted. Regulators announced a formal inquiry. Tech blogs dubbed it the Aiden effect. Lydia messaged me a screenshot of the trending tag, chucked from ashes to audit. Below it, a meme of Thomas Hale's face superimposed with the words, "He applied to work under the man he buried." I didn't laugh, just closed the laptop and watched the storm I didn't have to hide from anymore. Apex Systems had always projected stability. Glass buildings, quarterly wins, press-ready executives. But within a week of the recordings going public, the cracks became too wide to patch. The current CEO, Jared Moore, handpicked by the very board I had exposed, stepped down for personal reasons. His resignation letter was 3 sentences long. The final line, "I hope we all learn something from this." The real storm began inside the building. Employees walked out. First the engineering team, then customer success, then legal. They held signs that read, "Truth matters," "Fix the root," and one that made me pause. Aiden should have been here. Pictures of the protest went viral. Apex's stock dropped 27% in 4 days. Reporters tried to reach me, but I declined interviews. This wasn't about branding anymore. It was about gravity pulling everything fake back to earth. And still, somehow, it wasn't over. Thomas called me one night, not for himself. "My daughter got a message," he said, voice shaking. "Someone sent her an email, called her father a fraud, said her future would be ruined." I closed my eyes. "Do you want me to do something?" I asked. "No," he said quickly, "but I thought you should know." I paused. "Send me the message headers." He did. I traced it within hours to a burner account linked to an Apex contractor. Someone trying to lash out as the ship sank. The next morning, I contacted a friend still working in cybersecurity enforcement. By noon, the account was flagged, removed. By evening, Thomas texted, "They stopped. Thank you." I didn't reply. That same day, I visited someone I hadn't seen in a while. My mother. She lived alone in a quiet neighborhood with trimmed hedges and a porch swing that never swung. She opened the door, eyes narrower than I remembered. "You're late," she said, but her voice was soft. We sat at her kitchen table, sipping the same brand of oversteeped tea she'd always served. "I saw the news," she said. "You embarrass powerful people." I said nothing. She stirred her cup. "Your father would have been proud." I looked up, surprised. He once walked out of his job because his manager forged numbers, came home, emptied our bank account to start over. But he never fought back. She met my eyes. "You did." A pause. Then more quietly, "He would have wished he had your spine." I didn't expect tears, but they came anyway. That night, I stayed in the study, flipping through boxes she'd kept from my childhood. In one envelope, I found something strange. A printed email, never opened, never sent. It was from a former Apex board assistant. The subject line, VP nomination list, final. The date matched the week before I was fired. I read it twice. I'd been nominated to be Vice President of Technology. I'd had the votes, until Thomas removed my name. It wasn't just betrayal. It was sabotage. He didn't just bury me. He blocked the air. I set the paper down. My pulse didn't spike. My breathing didn't change. I'd already buried that part of me. Now I understood how deep the grave had been. 2 weeks later, Jeremy and I were invited to speak at a conference about ethical entrepreneurship. It was low-key, held in a converted warehouse turned co-working lab. There were no flashy badges or VIP sections, just founders, coders, people who'd been through fires of their own. To my surprise, Thomas was also there, invited to speak on rebuilding after integrity loss. We didn't talk before the panel, but when it ended, we found ourselves standing near the same cold brew station. He offered a small nod. I returned it. Later that night, the organizers asked us both to join a pilot program for startup reform, mentoring founders on building cultures that prioritize ethics without compromising scale. Jeremy didn't love the idea. "You're really going to work with him again?" "I'm not," I said. "I'm going to work next to him." We started small. Zoom calls, group chats, startup audits. Thomas never overstepped. He didn't talk much, just listened. One founder told me, he doesn't say what he learned, he shows it. That mattered more than I expected. One afternoon, while finalizing the report for a health tech firm, I found a handwritten note in the back of my notebook. It wasn't mine. Forgiveness is the loudest kind of justice. I closed the book gently. We never talked about it. Didn't need to. But the real twist came weeks later. An email with a blue logo. Sender, Orion Core Global. Subject, invitation to discuss strategic ethics officer role. I blinked. Orion Core was a multinational with reach in nearly every major industry. Defense, health, AI, infrastructure. The offer was 6 figures. Travel included. Board access. But it wasn't the salary that got me. It was the footnote. Recommended by Thomas Hale. I stared at the screen. And for once, I didn't feel conflicted. Just ready. We named it Phoenix Foundation because no other name felt honest enough. Not Redemption Fund, not Integrity Initiative. Phoenix meant what it needed to mean. You burn, you break, you rise. It started as a website with a form. No logos, no branding, just a line at the top. If you've been buried for telling the truth, we want to help dig you out. Within the first week, we received 12 submissions, all anonymous, all heartbreaking. A teacher forced to resign after reporting grade inflation. A junior marketer who exposed fake engagement metrics and was blacklisted from every agency she applied to. A compliance officer who discovered her manager altering audit logs, only to be quietly laid off with a mutual NDA. We read every word, and we replied. We offered resume help, connections, funding to relocate or rebuild. Jeremy managed logistics. I wrote letters by hand. Within a month, Phoenix Foundation had its first public case, a whistleblower at a pharmaceutical company who needed legal cover after revealing dangerous trial data manipulation. We helped her win. Then the news spread. Tech blogs covered the story. Forums posted our link. Subreddits lit up. The donations started rolling in. We hired 3 people, all of them survivors. One of them was Dylan Hart, the spy, the man who applied to Verity months ago as an inside agent, fed by Apex. He'd reached out again, but this time with no cover. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he wrote, "but I want to be useful." I met him at a diner off the freeway. He looked thinner, worn down. "I didn't know how deep it went," he said. "I thought I was just reporting on a guy who left too loudly. I didn't know what they'd done to you." "Why now?" I asked. "My daughter asked what I do for work," he said, and I couldn't answer her. We gave him a trial period. He worked quietly, meticulously. 3 months in, he started staying late without being asked. 6 months in, he became the one training new hires on ethical disclosure protocols. He never asked to be seen, but we saw him. One afternoon, Rachel handed me a small envelope. No return address. Inside was a folded piece of paper, written in blue crayon. "Dear Mr. Aiden, thank you for helping my dad. He said he almost wanted to go away forever. but now he's okay. I like it when he smiles. You saved him. Love, Amelia, age 7. I sat on the stairs and wept. For the first time, not because of what I'd lost, but because of what someone else didn't have to lose. That night, I sat outside on the back porch with a cup of cold coffee and watched the sky bleed from orange to violet. I was finally unafraid of the past. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm, made breakfast, ironed a shirt, and, for the first time in 3 years, I drove Ava to school. She bounced in the seat beside me, humming, her backpack twice her size. "You gonna pick me up too?" she asked. "Every day," I said. At the school gate, she kissed my cheek. "Don't forget, ice cream after." As I turned to leave, I caught my reflection in the car window. Not a phoenix, just a father. Just a man still choosing to get up. Later that week, I received a message on a private platform, encrypted and formally worded. A consulting request from a company I never thought I'd hear from again. Silorix, the largest competitor of Apex Systems. The same company whose client partnership I had once lost because of false allegations. They wanted to hire me as a full-time ethics advisor. My first instinct was to delete the message, but curiosity won. I clicked open the attachment, recommended by Thomas Hale. I closed the file slowly. There were no fireworks inside me, no roar of victory, no urge to gloat, just stillness, and the sense that maybe, just maybe, justice wasn't a fire. It was a quiet room you finally got to walk into. Later that evening, I opened my journal, the same one I hadn't touched in months. On the final page, I wrote, "Revenge was never the goal. It was never about watching them fall. It was about becoming the kind of person who could stand without needing anyone else to kneel." And below that, just one more line. Retribution doesn't end a story. It restarts it properly.